Nathan, you want to take us away?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to focus on today is to kind of give you guys some tips and tricks on the design side and some of the ways that we approach designing dashboards. And so we like to take the whole concept of wireframing from kind of the software development world and create mock-ups or wireframes. You can see here on the left we have kind of a low fidelity wireframe that, by low fidelity we just mean, kind of not great. Whiteboard style, this could be pen and paper, this could be, we've done it on, just in PowerPoint with some boxes and like some words. And then on the bottom right, you can see something that looks a whole lot more like something you'd create in Tableau. And so this was created in Figma, actually, combined with using some dummy data in Tableau to generate the charts and that sort of thing. But you can see here, this is a project that Nelson worked on, lots of kind of chicken scratch and clients saying, hey, I want this. What if it could do this? What if it could do this? And we take all that information and we put together a wireframe that ends up, it's surprising actually. So it really kind of comes down to the whole start with why and begin with the end in mind, right? Because if we want to create a successful outcome, we have to know where we're headed. And it's actually really surprising how the finished dashboard looks so much like a high fidelity wireframe, because we've already defined what that successful outcome looks like. And so Nelson's got this slide here on Figma. This is a tool that we use to create those wireframes. I was just going to kind of give you guys an example of a dashboard that we recently completed and kind of my personal workflow to get stuff from Figma into Tableau and vice versa. So Nelson, if you want to pass it back to me, sweet. Thank you, sir. All right. So this is Figma. It feels a lot like a Google product. It's pretty intuitive, but you basically create a new project, and then within a project you create a little design. And so you start out total blank slate. If you're familiar with Photoshop or any of those types of tools, it works in kind of a layered format, and you can drag and drop layers up and down. And so usually what I'll do, and actually my favorite thing about this is that the pixels and the placement of the items works so similarly to Tableau. So I can drag, let's say, so usually what I'll do is I'll say, okay, well, what format are we going to build this dashboard on? Is it mobile? Is it desktop? Is it laptop? What's the goal here? And so usually what I'll do is I'll say, okay, the X needs to be at 0, the Y needs to be at 0, the width, let's say we want to do 16 by 9, so like a PowerPoint size, so 1600 by 900, oops. And then we end up with this box here that kind of becomes the background, and we can change the color and add a border, that type of thing. And what I can do that now, and this is what I'd recommend doing, is locking this. So in the upper left-hand corner, I can lock this, and I'll call this like background or frame is usually what I call it. And then from here, we can start dragging boxes and text and all kinds of cool stuff onto here. And what's neat is you can, Tableau doesn't have a whole lot of options for us in terms of rounded corners, but if we need rounded corners, we can create them quite easily in Figma. And let's say we want to create some bands across the top, and then we're going to have a some section down here that explains, maybe it's a big map, who knows, right? And so you can play with it, come up with your design. I'll show you an example of one. And so this is a dashboard where we created a kind of medium high fidelity, sorry, I'm a little crazy with my zooming here, mock-up here. And so you can see all these, took the client's logo, which I've kind of masked a little bit for the sake of this presentation. But took that, drew some lines, took their colors, and created some little boxes for the bands. This little shading that we've got going here. This is really just two different groups of rounded corner boxes, colored different things, and offset slightly. And so you can get real creative with how you want to do this. Obviously, you could create some of this stuff in Tableau itself. So you could use a blank and make it 5 pixels tall, 600 pixels wide, and you'd have this yellow line. But sometimes it's nice to be able to have the background as a template. And so then what we'll do is, now that we've got the wireframe and it's all kind of designed, the client says, yeah, I love it, it's going to look so great. Then all I do is strip out all of the numbers and text and charts and graphs and things, and we're left with kind of this background layer that we can drop right into Tableau. And so I'll show you. I took all the layers of this, grouped it into what Figma calls a frame, and then exported the frame. So when I click on the frame, I can export that frame, see down here in the bottom right, at 2x pixels or 1x pixels. I would recommend, when you're working and like deving, building the worksheets and floating stuff around, use the 1x, because Tableau does not get super happy about super high pixel density images. But then right when you're done, before you publish it to Tableau Server or Tableau Online, I would recommend at least doubling the pixels. And so we just export that as a PNG and then drop that as a background image in Tableau. And so you can see here, if I go to my layout side, make this a little bigger. So this dashboard is almost entirely floating. I do have a bunch of containers and containers within containers, collapsing containers, all that good stuff. But at the very bottom of this item hierarchy, I've got my background. And even it can be floating as long as you float it at 0, 0, and then set the height and width appropriately. So another cool little thing we did in this one is use collapsible containers to give the user some inputs, some toggles, that type of thing. And so this appears like a little modal window that's popping up, and I hit the little X and it goes away. All those parameter values get captured and the data is updated. Another thing we used was parameter actions to give the user the ability to toggle between some different charts, which that was pretty fun. But yeah, it ended up looking strikingly similar to our initial mockup. So yeah, Nelson, anything you want to add to that, buddy?
Guys, we do have a question. You guys mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we got a question from Hannah. Does having a background image prevent your dashboard from being responsive on other devices?
Yeah, so you would definitely want to create, so let me just show you. The Tableau folks will tell you Tableau is not responsive. That's not a word that they like to use. There are instead different layouts that Tableau allows you to create. And so I got rid of the mobile layout because for the purpose of this dashboard, no one was going to be opening up on mobile. It's an on-prem Tableau server that it's all kind of locked down, and there was really no desire for that. So what you would need to do though is in Figma, you would need to create one background layer for each layout. So let's say you did an iPad layout, then you'd want to create a iPad shaped view, and then yeah, so we would just say, I don't know if we have enough time to get into this, but we would create a new layout for iPad and for mobile. And then we'd have 3 different background images that serve as the background. And then you actually would even need to drag and drop the elements of the dashboard onto those layouts so that they make a lot of sense. So hopefully that helps.
Cool. And I will steal the screen from you. I know we don't have too much time, but to share.
Just FYI, though, it seems like there was a lot of interest in some of those tricks. So we should perhaps consider doing like a whole thing on design. Great job, Nathan.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing, Nathan, I don't know if you mentioned, I have a little technical difficulty over here, but one of the things I love about Figma is you can write little notes off to the side. It's one of the big things I think is a differentiator between that and PowerPoint. Is like if you're kind of capturing notes, you kind of want to draw attention to something. If you do it in PowerPoint, you only really have the comments, but like if you want to draw attention to like particular things, so you can kind of take notes, and then it's collaborative. So you can take some notes. You're the different people on the team can kind of take notes, and everybody's notes are all kind of in the same design space. So super cool. So real quick, wanted to just show, once you've made something cool in a Figma, or again, PowerPoint works, but Figma's kind of fun for all the reasons Nathan just showed. So we got, on this one, we've got our little background here. This is an actual Tableau dashboard. One of the things that the client that we were building this for wanted the ability to do was kind of say, hey, we serve a bunch of different clients. We want to be able to change out the colors on this. And so, we kind of thought about, well, how could we kind of help create a little bit more of a custom experience, right? So if I'm Home Depot, or if Home Depot is my customer, and I want to use that Home Depot orange and kind of change out the name, right? So we're using a little parameter right here, and then we're using a background color. And what's happening is you've got these things that are floating here, and then this is kind of a transparent piece that's back here. And so it's kind of highlighting. Now it's not changing everything. That would probably be a whole nother level of something. But if we're Coke, for example, right? Coca-Cola. So a couple of different, just kind of interesting ways of creating a more just interesting user experience, for folks, so you kind of can welcome people into something that's gonna look contextual to the environment and so forth. User experience is really about creating something that people want to use, not something people have to use. And so it's a big approach that we take here. And we've done some other kind of cool, fun things with this, where we kind of have some multi-select parameter type of things that are happening and so forth. The other thing I would say too, real quick, is if you wanted to do something like this, the quick and dirty is that this is a super dead simple data set. It's 100 rows worth of data. So if I showed it to you real quick, it would just be literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 100. And then if we come back, what we're doing is just doing rows and columns based off of that. So if I show the header of the rows and the columns, a lot of people don't know that this function is in Tableau. There's something called I always mispronounce this, but a modal, which is basically the remainder of division. So subtract 1 and take that out, and so you get kind of a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as what the remainder is. And then to get our rows, you just kind of come in here and do you divide by whatever, and then take the integer of that. That'll basically fool your numbers. And so that's kind of the trick there. And then we just use color. We just set default properties, so you can actually select, hey, anywhere that this color shows up, anywhere you come in and just kind of say, these are the colors that I want to show. And I kind of just went through and just picked a bunch of random colors to try to get a nice sampling of different things, so that we would kind of cover off on different stuff. So that's how we did that. And then the trick is done by taking that and creating a background, right? So this is just a big old bar chart, and that consumes the entire thing there by extending it out the size, and then that sits behind everything as far as it goes with our layout. So all sorts of fun stuff. Again, I think we could talk about these types of little hacky things all day, but super fun. So just thought we'd give you a couple ideas to noodle on potentially if this is stuff that's interesting to you.